Okay.
Meeting is a live streaming on Facebook. What? You haven't seen it.
All right. I can make this smaller. Yes, we're good to go. Okay, I think we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Arayeh, your rapid transformational coach in personal development, relationships, and conscious parenting. And I have only one mission, and that is to empower you to live your authentic self and your full potential with ease, grace, and joy. And today I have a special guest, dear and near to my heart, that the stuff we want to talk about today. I'm going to talk about social media with Lydia. She's an activist, mental well-being activist. She's talking in her school about social media. I'm so excited to hear everything about her words from her mouth, rather than just, we always talk about, this stuff with adults, and parents are struggling. And I'm so excited to hear actually a teenager's point of view about this. And tell us about yourself, your journey with your phone, with social media, and your family, and your school. I'm so excited. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Lydia. I am 15 years old. I'm a sophomore in high school. I do online school, Iowa Virtual Academy. It's fun. But anyway, basically I got social media in 7th grade after a big move from Iowa to San Antonio, Texas. And it was a way to, keep in touch with my friends and, see what's going on in the world and all that fun stuff. But eventually, as I went on in middle school, I was very involved. I was in theater. I was in choir. I was on a leadership team. Like, I was always involved, always doing stuff after school. But then high school hit, and all of a sudden I was on a bus for 2 hours a day by myself on my phone. And my mental health really took a toll. Like, I started experiencing really, really, really bad anxiety. So bad that I couldn't sit out on my front porch and watch the cars go by. I couldn't leave my house. I was very, very bad. And I'm not naturally an anxious person. I'm very outgoing. Everyone who's ever known me is like, oh wow, that girl talks a lot. So it was just kind of weird for my parents to see me not wanting to interact with anyone and wanting to be in my room and wanting to be, behind closed doors. I didn't want to go outside. All I want to do was sit on the couch and be on my phone. So basically my mom was like, this isn't okay. I don't understand what's happening with her. She's not usually like this. So she was like, okay, let's detox social media. And so I got rid of social media off my phone, first semester of 9th grade. During that time, I also left school and decided to go totally virtual, doing online public school in Texas. And so a lot of change was happening in my life. And I could not say right away my anxiety was getting better. It wasn't. Like, it got so bad. It got worse. But that, I solely say that because I was detoxing. I was like withdrawal stages, like when you take a drug away from a drug addict, they got to feel worse before they feel better. And so eventually the first couple of weeks, it was horrible. I mean, seriously, again, like I couldn't leave the house, like couldn't walk across the street to get the mail. Like it was really, really bad. But then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I kind of want to go see people. I kind of want to go out and about and, do stuff. And ironically, this kind of happened at the time of quarantine, where we're all that we can't leave anywhere. And so that really gave me time to think of like reflecting of how social media has really affected my mental health. And the more I look back on it, it really affected my mental health negatively. I mean, if you asked me in middle school if social media affected me, I'd be like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. I just use it to keep up with my friends, whatever. But now looking back on it, I could gradually see myself getting apathetic and not compassionate towards other people's problems. I'd be like, oh yeah, 1,000 other people in the world have the same one. I see it on social media. It's fine, whatever. A lot of the time, social media also glorifies mental health in a way like, everyone has it, I saw a lot of like, depression gang, anxiety gang, we're living our lives. It's something we live with. Who cares? They'll post about their suicidal thoughts and it'd be normalized. And so I didn't realize I had anxiety when I was on social media, because I know it's insane. I see your face right now. And so it's just like, that's how it is when I look back and see it. I'm like, that's insane. On social media, they normalize it so much that when you're off of it, it just gets really, really worse, because you realize, oh, this anxiety isn't normal. Normal people every day don't deal with this and glorify it in the limelight. So it's just like, so it just took a lot of self-reflection, basically. And I'm so glad my mom was like, listen, we'll take it off your phone. I still have it. I have it on my mom's phone. I still have Instagram on my mom's phone. I never had Snapchat or TikTok or any of that. That was just not allowed. So I have Instagram on my mom's phone, so I could just post stuff, but I don't even like scrolling anymore. It bothers me, frankly. I'm like, I feel like I'm seeing the same picture 20 times. And it's just, I have other stuff in my life to do. I'm busy with school, church, and friends. And it's like, there's really no time for me to make fake connections on a screen that only lasts split seconds, So I've just really prioritized stuff in my life. So that's kind of my story.
Wow. I got chills when you were talking, because to be honest, maybe just last week I thought I was to talking to one of my clients. She's 13, and she brought up OCD, and I just out of the blue I asked her, "Do you have TikTok?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "How many hours?" She said, "3 hours." I said, "Did you watch videos about OCD on TikTok?" She said, "Yeah." So it's so interesting that you mentioned this, because this becomes, not only maybe it's there and you saw it and it's normalized, but sometimes it gives you ideas, even like it puts some ideas in your brain, and maybe there's something there, but you kind of make it even, you magnify it when you see other people have it.
For sure. I mean, you see it, like, for example, maybe you see a post saying, here are top 10 symptoms of having anxiety, and you have one of those symptoms, and you're like, oh, am I anxious? I don't think I've ever felt like that before. Oh, wait, but this says that what I feel right now is anxiety, so maybe I'm anxious. Or I see that a lot with OCD is one of them. Everyone jokes like, oh, I have OCD. Like
It's
that,
like
that picture frame isn't straight or whatever.
It feels like it's like a trend, right? It's like a trend.
Right. And everyone's joking about it. And I mean, sometimes I joke about it, like, if the frame, if the picture on the wall isn't completely level, like, right, that bothers us. I'm like, I just want to go fix it. But a lot of times people are just like, oh my gosh, I have like the worst OCD, even though it's not, if that makes sense. So a lot of the times people find their self-identity in these like mental health umbrellas, almost, I guess, because social media just normalizes it so much. And I'm not saying there's a problem with normalizing it, because it is an issue that we need to talk about more and more. But let's get to the root of the problem. Instead of glorifying the symptoms of it and the problems of it, let's take a step back and be like, why is it that half the world feels anxiety right now? Why is it that more like 50% of our population like deals with depression symptoms? Like, why is that? So maybe we could just take a step back and be like, oh, maybe it's because we're not getting real human interaction. Maybe it's because, our brains are trained from a really, really young age that this is how we're supposed to look, feel, and act. So I think that's a lot of how mental health is like, coming out of being on our screens. It's just always there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. Wow. So what do you do in order to put this words out? I feel that you have so much passion about it, but do you have like this systemic kind of way to go at it?
Yeah. So for one, I would say take a 7-day detox off of all of your social medias, and pick up a new hobby, because let's be honest, if you just get off your phone and you don't have social media on it anymore, what are you going to replace it with? You're probably going to replace it with your TV. Okay, well, maybe let's take another. I'm going to challenge you another. Sorry. Here's another challenge. Turn off all screens. Turn off the TV. Turn off the YouTube, because I know there's smart TVs that can have YouTube on it. I mean, mine does. In our living room, not in my bedroom. But anyway, I don't have a TV in my bedroom. I'm just saying. Just try to get off all of the screens, because you need to fill that time with something fulfilling. Like, I started painting. Who knew? I'm actually a really good artist. Like, I would never even have thought that I could paint a bird and it actually looked good. Or get outside. I know I'm I'm in the north or like Midwest area, so it's kind of cold, but right now it's getting to like 50s, 60s. So I mean, I was outside a lot of today, like just sitting and riding my bike and just get outside, go to the mall if it's too cold, just try to get your mind off of wanting to get a dopamine hit every 30 seconds from your phone. So that's what I would say, is just take a detox, and see what happens, because at the end of the day you're probably going to feel relieved that, oh my gosh, I didn't have this thing commanding my attention every 10 seconds. So that's what I would say.
I love that. That's, oh my gosh, I'm like soaking in your this is so amazing that you have come to this understanding, and you're dealing with this so beautifully. So what do you do when you see other, like, do you have that urge to talk about it with your friends? How are your friends dealing with this?
My friends know that I don't really like social media, and if they ask me about it, I'll tell them about it, but at the same time there comes a point where I don't just want to be telling my friends that everything they're doing is wrong. So I'm just like, sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, okay, how is ninth grade me relating to them now? Because if I was in ninth grade, I'd be like, oh yeah, this girl's telling me to get rid of my social media, not going to do it. So I need to take a step back and be like, okay, well, why don't they want to get rid of it? They don't want to get rid of it because it's a comfort, because they're missing something else in their life, or they just are super bored and don't know what to do, or they don't, or their entire image is in that screen. So my really, really close friends, I have a couple of those, and they just know when we're together, we're not really on our screens, because, we're going thrifting and getting clothes, or we're talking and, we're hanging out in the car getting drive-through food. Like that's what we do. So a lot of my good friends, I've really prioritized people that want to spend one-on-one time. They're kind of the same people that are like, I have social media, but I'd rather not build relationships on it. So I'm really blessed to not have a lot of friends that are just like, glued to their screens where they can't have a conversation. But I also think that's a lot of like my self-growth, where I realize that's what I value in friendship. But my peers though, youth group and school, I'm very vocal about it. I'm just like, why are you doing that? Like, it's not, I'm like, trust me guys, you can do that. I did it too. And it, it helped me. But there's only so much you can do, because you can never force anyone to do anything. So I basically just preached what I learned and what I, experienced for myself, because that's all I can do.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think you're missing anything when you're not on TikTok or Snapchat? You didn't even have it at that time, you said, but even when you said you were not allowed, you didn't feel like you were missing out, you didn't want it, or
when I was at real school, for sure there was like a sense of, what am I missing out on? Like, a lot of the time that happened for me with boys. I don't have boys, sliding in my DMs and like, talking to me 24/7, because the average teenage girl has like 15 guys in their Snapchat at one day, sending snaps back and forth, whether it be like actually talking, or whether it be just streaks, which is just sending a picture back and forth. So a lot of the times I would feel a little bit like left out in that aspect of just like, oh, I have nothing to do, because they're all distracted with their screen. So I'm just like looking over at my friend's screen, like, what are you doing? And all they're doing is sending a picture of a ceiling to their friend. I put that in quotations because they don't really know them. So, I mean, initially there was a lot of like, oh, I'm missing out. I can't sit on the bus and watch my, baking videos for 2 hours that I watch of like YouTube videos or people or animal videos or friend videos or whatever. And so I just have to sit there and think about my life, and just like actually be a real human being. I'm just like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do when I'm older? What do I want to do when I get married? Like, just all the things that you're supposed to be thinking about at our age that you're supposed to be excited about. But a lot of times I see with my peers, they don't have that same enthusiasm as me, because they haven't had time to just sit and think, because they're constantly, their mind's thinking about something else, about when is the next notification going to be received on my phone. And so that's just, initially it's hard, but once you get past the fact that you actually have kind of a life,
a real life,
it's kind of an amazing fact that you're like, oh, I may not have 1,000 followers, but I mean, I have 10 real friends. Like, that's insane. So yeah, it's hard at first, but it gets easier
Gets
as you
easy.
don't have it.
Yeah. So what do you recommend to parents when so because I know a lot of parents are really struggling and they keep arguing and they keep they come at their children. What do you suggest to parents who want, all parents probably know that this is not healthy, but they don't know how to tackle the situation, and they don't want they probably don't feel as strong as your mom to just take it away and advise you, hey, let's go on a detox. What do you recommend besides detoxing? Like, how do you think parents should approach their teens, or even teens?
So how I would, what I would say to that, is trust me and my mom fought a lot. I was not happy. I was, punching and kicking verbally. I'm like, no, I don't know. This is my screen. Like, you gave it to me. You're the one that told me I need to stay connected. I'm not that type of kid that looks at those bad videos, but eventually, I'd be looking at puppy videos and I see like really, really crude videos and half dressed girls dancing. I'm like, what? How did this get from a corgi video? Like, this doesn't make sense. But I would always go back to the fact of I'm not one of those kids that look at that stuff, And so for my parents, they were probably like, oh, well, it's fine. She doesn't look at it. And that's how it went for a long time until they started seeing how it actually affected my mental health. And I think a lot of the times parents are so disconnected from their kids because they realize they just give up kind of. They're kind of like, just like, okay, well, it's not affecting my kid, even though it is. It just might be behind closed doors. But for the parents that, want to get their kids back, be a parent, take the screen. It's not going to kill them. Okay. I'm alive. I'm here. I'm talking to you. Just take it away. I mean, they might literally hate your guts and they might try to get around it and everything. But once they realize that they start to feel better and that they are actually enjoying time with you, it's going to be great. But also at the same time, don't go in there guns blazing. Like, I just read a stat that every person on social media has seen porn, and just like flip out on your kids. Cause that's not gonna make you trust them anymore. You come in and you're like, hey, this is what I'm learning. This is what I'm reading. How much of this are you seeing? Could we maybe see how your mental health improves? Because I know you've been dealing with this anxiety and depression, and I don't really know why. So I want to try to understand you. But at the same time, you need to take in charge of like, I'm your parent, and I don't like seeing you this way. I don't like you being depressed and anxious and, not happy with your life. Let's do something to change that, because I know you have so much potential, and I know and I love you, That's the thing, is you just got to say, like, I love you and I'm doing this for you. Hug your kids 8 seconds a day. Like, you just got to show your kids you care by taking command and by taking it away. I mean, if it's even just for a week, just be like, hey, listen, I'll even do it with you. That's one thing that sold me. And my mom's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll try detoxing for a week, like when you do it together, it makes it really easy. My mom was like, hey, let's buy some puzzles. I don't like doing puzzles, so I wasn't the one in like doing the puzzles, but my brothers were like, yeah, sure. Or my mom's like, hey, let's get some board games, like get stuff to replace your kids' time. And my mom actually has a really good quote on her bulletin board up here. It says, showing your kids you love them is 2% effort and 98% putting down your phone. And that's by Colin Karchner. And that's something we truly live by in our house, is just like, you could say I love you as much as you want, like, oh, I love you, and, give them hugs and kisses. But until you actually show them that you care by taking away something that's harming them, even though they may not know it's harming them, and you putting down your phone and acknowledging, saying, hey, it's harming me too. That's when you truly have a bridge of connection, and, hope starts to grow and faith starts to grow. And you're just like, oh, I can talk to my parents, and that's just, I can't tell you how amazing that feeling is. It's just like, oh, I can go to my mom for this. And a lot of kids these days, like, I vividly remember 8th grade year, these girls were talking about Snapchat, and I was like, I never received an inappropriate picture before. And they're like, what? I get like 10 a day, like literally. And I'm like, why don't you tell your mom? Oh, because she won't understand. She'll get mad at me because I'm the one receiving it. Or she'll take my phone away, and I don't like my mom. And so it's just like, and I was just like, is it really that hard to have a connection with your parents? And then I realized the reason they can't have that, you know, daughter mother relationship is because they have this in the way. And it may not be this, but it's the apps that are on this for sure. And it's just the constant influence of other people telling you how to live your life, so you can't trust your mom. It's like when you have so many other influences coming in, it's hard for you to take your parents' influence, which is who you should be being influenced by, right? Like everyone ends up turning out like their parents someday. So be a good parent and try to make it a good one. Be like, okay, I actually want to be an influence in your life. Let's have family dinners and put down our phone. Let's not have phones in bedrooms. Oh my gosh, that's a whole thing. No screens in the bedrooms. Please, people, please. Just like sorry, I just went off on that, but like it's so important. Like, why even give your kids the temptation? They may be straight A students, perfect kids in your eyes, but there's always that temptation of a notification coming in and then them saying something else. And that's just something I just want to say, because if you just take that out and kids getting sleep, it's like an entire attitude change. It's insane.
Yes. I love it. You're so wise. Oh my gosh, how lucky your mom is. So I just heard a couple of times that you said, because of course, like seeing things like that, dangerous screening, seeing things that are not appropriate, that's also that's a very big part of this dilemma. But I myself believe that that's just 10%, 20% of the problem. The rest is just that addiction, as you said, that that craving, that dopamine rush that you want to just check, and even if it's not something inappropriate, but still running your life. I want to know what you think about this. What do you think, what is the real cause that made you anxious, or depressed, or whatever was happening to you? What is the true reason? What part of it, in what aspect, what level?
For me, I think my anxiety really, really hit hard when I got rid of my social media. And that was because of, FOMO, fear of missing out. And it was because I realized, like, oh, feeling this way isn't normal. But if you want to go all the way back of like when when like the switch happened, almost was almost like when I went onto the explore page of Instagram for the first time. And it was just this endless scroll, and then it was just seeing girls who are skinny and perfect and had amazing boyfriends. And as a seventh grader, you're like, oh, I want a boyfriend. But all seventh grade guys are like, they're seventh grade guys. So it's like nothing there. But as a seventh grade girl, you're thinking that's how every middle school relationship is supposed to be. That's how every high school relationship is supposed to be. So then my head gets filled with these false ideals. And then not being able to meet my own expectations of these false ideals is really what started to give me anxiety, and just kind of like depressive, like, oh, I can't be like them. I can't achieve what this person's achieving because I don't have money. I don't have, my parents are busy with their jobs. They can't drive me places. Like, for instance, when I was in seventh grade, I wanted to be an actress, like really badly. And I would always, I'd follow teen actresses and actors and all that, living their lives. I'm like, I could do that. Like, I have the potential to do that. But at the same time, they also had parents who were super rich, like all this stuff. And so as seventh grade me, I would build up a list of, oh, this is what you need to be successful. And I didn't have any of that. All I had was my potential, and that was it. And that's kind of what maybe started it all, was just having these false expectations for yourself. And then also just the fact of accidentally seeing something that you aren't supposed to see, and then having that shame build up of like, oh, I wasn't supposed to see that or read that. And what are my parents going to think if they see it? Quickly delete it if a friend cusses in your DMs. Like, this is really innocent stuff that happens when you first get social media in like middle school, because you still want to please your parents. But eventually, as it goes on, when you have it for 2 or 3 years or more, you start to become desensitized to it. And then even though you may not be looking at bad stuff, like I wasn't, like I followed a bunch of all my friends, I followed good people, and I made sure of that. But at the end of the day, I wasn't looking at my own feed. I was looking at the explore page, people that I didn't follow, because it was, you couldn't track that, you know? And it wasn't that I was looking at bad stuff. It was just constantly feeling like ashamed for looking at something.
Not good enough.
Not good enough, not skinny enough, doesn't eat right, you know, my skin's breaking out. Why is it doing that? Like, it's just a lot of the time I went through this phase of only watching people doing makeup. I'm not very good at makeup. I don't ever really wear it. But I'd be like, oh wow, I can't even wear makeup because my skin breaks out really bad. And so I go through these phases of watching these videos of like, oh, I just wish I could wear that makeup, but my skin won't let me. So therefore I will always be ugly. And like, just stuff I thought as a middle schooler, and obviously I'm not ugly. Like I've been told all my life I'm a pretty girl, but it's just, no matter how much affirmation I've gotten, yeah, it's just, I can't even prepare myself for what social media did, because that ultimately is going to mean more than your mom saying, oh, you're pretty, because that's your mom, but what does the world actually think of you? So that's kind of where my anxiety started, long story short.
This is fantastic. So you felt like underneath, it's so brilliant that you actually have that awareness, because usually we don't have that awareness. What is causing us to feel depressed? That feeling of not good enoughness, right? But you have that awareness. I'm not good enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this enough, that enough. And then it just crept in, right? It's and then it got you, pulled you down.
It did get me. And a lot of the time I went to an art school. So 9th grade year, I got into a really cool art school for creative writing. So I'm a writer. So that might explain some of how I speak and everything. But a lot of the time I was on my phone and I would see all these awesome people that were amazingly talented, in my class and musical theater. Like, they had different majors is what they called it. So like I could see these amazing dancers and they had amazing bodies and they could just do amazing stuff. And I'm like, I'm a poet. I write poems. I'm sitting in a class for 2 hours a day on my phone doing nothing. And that's my creative writing elective. Like, I would always compare myself, even at school when I wasn't on my phone, to all the better majors that, had so much more potential, that can do so much better things, and I think that's what really also contributed to it, was my environment. But a lot of it was also going home and still seeing those people on my screen. Because if you think about it, you go to school, sure, you might compare yourself, but then once you go home and you don't have a phone, you don't have any of that, you can disconnect. You can be one with yourself. You can be like, oh yeah, they had a cute outfit today, but now let's go look at my closet and see what I can do, and you can have time to become yourself. And when you have a phone and you have social media on your phone constantly, you can go to school, you can see those people, and you can compare yourself, feel bad all the way in the bus ride home, go home, sit on the couch, and still feel bad about yourself because you're still looking at those same people over and over and over again. But now it's just in the palm of your hand rather in your math class, So yeah.
Okay. This is fantastic. I'm going to ask you one last question. So what do you suggest? What activities do you suggest for teenagers, for girls specifically your age, to fill up their own time when they don't have the phone? Like, what is really, besides painting and all those, basic things, do you suggest, like, I don't know, journaling, meditation, anything that will, really intrigue their interests?
Yes, I would for sure say journaling. And just, if you have an off day where you just can't stop thinking about the girl in the other class who, has the money, has the boys, has the dress, go to your journal and write that out. Be like, I feel sucky today. I feel horrible. I look bad, and just write it all out. And then you look at it and you're like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would I think that? Because a lot of the times once we get things out into words, we could see
how ridiculous they are.
How ridiculous they are, how unbeneficial they are to us. And then once you start journaling more, after you write that page of horrible things, on the back of that page, write, oh, I actually really liked how my hair looked today. Oh, I really liked how my eyes matched with the outfit that I wore. And then just write an entire page of affirmations. Right. Or especially for painting. I know I said I love painting, but it is so therapeutic. You do not have to be good at it, because at the beginning I was not good at it. Just paint, just get colors and just literally just make lines on a page, because that's therapeutic in itself. Or turn on your favorite musical and start singing. by yourself in your room. Like, I don't know, just, or get outside, be with nature, go volunteer someplace. If you like animals, go volunteer at the shelter, because that gets you off the phone, and it makes you be like, makes you feel like you're actually doing something good for the world. So just get involved with your community. And I know COVID's like hard right now, but like, get on a Zoom call with girls that also feel the same way and talk about it. Yeah, so journaling is the main one too. Just keep a journal for all the good and bad thoughts, and just plan out your future. That's what I love to do. Gets my mind off of things, and so that's what I recommend.
Wow, you are so wise. My goodness.
Thank you.
I should think you become this really world-renowned, coach or something. You're so amazing. I'm so blessed to know you, your mom, and the Screen Strong movement. I hope the audience go to Screen Strong and get that 7-day detox, I think.
Yes.
Their Facebook group, Screen Strong group. And yes, just give it a try. I know it's really hard. For example, in my own family, we took it, and it was really good. My son found that I'm really kind of adamant about this. Like, no, I don't like this. So he felt that in my energy, and now he knows that I'm serious. So it really helped us, that challenge that we took. So thank you so much, Lydia, and your mom. Thank you. I hope to talk to you soon again.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. Sending love. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.